Hello, folks. Welcome to Commissioner Carr. My name's Dustin Zarni. Today is Tuesday, May 10th. We're coming to you one day late because I was hoping to have even more answers for you on New York redistricting and early voting, and I got some answers here. Let's start with the good news. Early voting in Onondaga County is settled. Commissioner Sardo and I today agreed on all of the early voting sites as well as ours for both the primary and the general election. An official announcement will be coming from the Onondaga County Board of Elections in a press release, I believe, tomorrow or the next day, as well as on our website. But here's the preview. We have 10 sites on General Election Day in November. And for the primaries, for both primaries, June and August, we will have 8 sites open. We will have more sites open than we've ever had in Onondaga County. I'm really excited about and thank you to the New York State Legislature for passing the law to get this done. This was not done because of the benevolence of or the ability for me to actually negotiate that with my counterparts. As you know, the Onondaga County GOP has been absolutely dead set against more than the minimum of early voting sites, but the minimum is now 10. But for primaries, we actually have a little bit of flexibility, and unfortunately, 2 of our sites that we picked were not able to accommodate us for the June statewide primary and the expected primary in the congressional race or state senate races in August. So they will not be open. So let's start with what sites will be open all 3 elections, starting with Clay Town Hall, DeWitt Town Hall, Lafayette Fire Station number 1, Southwest Community Center, Syracuse Connections to Southwest Community Center, and Armand Magnarelli Center. Those 5 sites you've been used to for the last few cycles. The 6th site that has been moved around a little bit is Camillus Town Hall, and they will only be open for the general election. They will not be open for the 2 primaries. However, we have 4 new sites, 3 of which will be open all 3 elections, and 1 of which will only be open for the November election. And they are Onondaga Community College, Mulray Hall, that will be open all 3 elections. Lysander Town Hall, that will be open all 3 elections. And Beecham Library, that will be open all 3 elections. And then the 4th and the 10th final early voting site will be the North Syracuse Community Center, only open for the general election in November. We do hope that next year all 10 sites will be open for both the primary and the general election if there's a countywide primary. But because of the late breaking dates and also some conflicts that came up, we were not able to be able to get Camillus Municipal Building and North Syracuse Community Center open for the June or August primaries. But that being said, we're still in compliance with the law, because if we have Democratic and Republican primaries in both elections, which is not necessarily a given, especially in the August primary, we definitely will have a Democratic and Republican primary. There's only about 200,000 voters countywide that are activated for that primary. And since you have to have an early voting site, 1 for every 30,000 voters, we actually are going to have more for the primary than our minimum. But we wanted to make sure that, we have the geographical areas all covered. Hours for early voting. On the weekends, we'll be open from 9 to 5. That is a state-mandated minimum 8 hours now. It used to be 5. So that's an expanded, not only expanded sites, but expanded hours. On Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, we'll be open from 10 to 6. And on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we'll be open from noon to 8. That's all the sites that are open are all going to be on the same time schedule. And remember, you can go to any site in Onondaga County and vote. It's not, you don't have to just wait and go to the site that's nearest you. If you're out traveling, working, doing something else, that's all coming. So, look for the press release. I'll probably be doing a Wonky Wednesday on that in the next couple of weeks, just to kind of give you some data of the voters that are going to be affected by this, and just a tremendous amount of work that was done into this, a long, protracted negotiation all year long. We finally got it done, and we got it done right before the deadline for the primary on May 13th, but after the deadline of May 1st for the early voting that should have been done for the general election. But yet, we got it done, and the August primary kind of threw us for a loop, and so we had to make sure that all of the early voting sites are going to be able to be open, and we got 8 of them, 8 out of the 10 open, which is going to be great for the community. So I'm really excited about that. But now we got to go to New York Redistricting, and we still have a lot of questions there. Things are settled for early voting, and that's great, but New York Redistricting, not so much. But we did get some answers today, so let's talk about what we got. The federal court ruled today that New York can move its congressional primary from the 4th Tuesday in June to the August 23rd to comply with the New York redistricting order from the appellate court. So that is done. The court has ruled that pretty much ends any chance of the old lines that were ruled unconstitutional being part of the election. There will be new lines drawn by the special master, released by May 20th, I believe, and those lines will be the ones that the congressional candidates will run on. Here's what we don't know. We don't know about the assembly lines. There was a hearing today in Bath, in the Steuben County Supreme Court, and the judge seemed very skeptical that moving the assembly lines or moving the full election will happen, but he has yet to rule. He said he would rule shortly. We have not received a ruling as of the airing of this podcast today at 5 o'clock on Tuesday. Maybe we'll get a ruling probably as soon as I log off. But and also what we have not gotten is a ruling from Steuben County Judge on ballot access for the state Senate and congressional lines that are yet to be drawn by the special master. So 2 big things are way up in the air. We just don't know what's going on with those things. Moving the assembly and statewide primaries to August, the only way that's going to happen is if the judge rules for it to happen, and he seems skeptical of doing so. And I'll talk a little bit about why I hope he does not, because it may be counterintuitive, but actually having one primary in August at this point would be very, very logistically problematic for boards of elections, even more logistically problematic than having 2 primaries in some of the state. But also, we don't know about how candidates are going to get on the ballot for the congressional and state Senate lines when they are announced on May 20th. This is the biggest question waiting out there. I think most of us believe that the assembly and statewide lines are not going to get moved. So the biggest question we're waiting on is the judge to tell us what the ballot access rules are going to be, how people can get on the ballot, whether old petitions count, whether candidates who are now redistricted into another district, whether they'll be able to take their petitions and move them over there, or will they have to do petitions in a new district? How long they'll have, how many signatures they have to do. All of these questions are up in the air, and the Steuben County Judge Judge McAllister has not quite yet ruled on that. We hope to get a ruling sometime in the next day or so. That's why I moved this podcast from Monday to Tuesday. I thought we might get more of an answer, but nope. So I guess next week when I come back for Commissioner Nakar, and definitely on Friday for my Zoom with Zarni, I will definitely be talking about that. So we're preparing at the boards of elections. It is not election chaos, David. We are prepared. We're working. We're getting ready. And I believe we'll be able to handle it. There is some chaos happening. There are two... it's not really chaos. David, you tuned in late. You're going to have to catch the rewatch of the early voting sites. I've already talked about that. So, but there is some election chaos happening in some old congressional districts. As you know, Antonio Delgado is now going to be the lieutenant governor. He's the current representative for the current New York 19. And today, Tom Reed announced in New York 23, which is a Southern Tier district, that he is retiring effective tomorrow. And if that's the truth, if there, now Delgado has not actually submitted his paperwork. He hasn't said a day that he's going to retire. We don't know what he's, what day he's doing, but many people speculate that he may be waiting until June 4th, because that's the day that would be 80 days from the August 23rd primary. And so the boards of elections that are running a special election to fill a seat will do so in conjunction with running the August 23rd primary. However, if Tom Reed is actually, if he's actually, resigning tomorrow to take a job, and that's what we're hearing, that's what he said, and then his start date on the job is the next day, that will cause some problems in our Southern Tier folks, because that will be about 104 days from the August 23rd primary, which will mean, according to current New York state law, that they'll have to hold a special election sometime in July for the remaining 6 months of this seat. That is, that will be hard for them. They'll have a statewide primary in June, a special election in July, and possibly another primary in August. So that is going to be problematic for my friends in the Southern Tier. And I've never been so glad that John Katko has decided not to retire so until the end of his term. Because I don't want to have to go through this. But of course, as I say that, I'm sure maybe there'll be a press release tomorrow. So that is happening as well. So let me tell you, because this has been talked about a lot, about why, whether, moving the June primaries to August would be a solution, and whether it would be a solution or not. And it's not. And I'll give you the reasons for that. For one, right now, the only primaries happening in August are the congressional and state Senate primaries. And that doesn't mean that there's going to be a primary in every congressional district. In fact, I think you'll see a good chunk of New York not have a primary at all in August. There will be a primary in every corner of New York in June, because we have the statewide primaries for governors on both sides. Now, all of the candidates for governor have said that they do not want to move to August. They've built their campaigns for June. They're raising money, spending money based on the June 23rd date. Remember, their lines are not in judgment. They are the ones that are, those lines are not have not been thrown out. So there may not even actually be a legal way to move those elections. I don't think the governor could do it through an executive order, and maybe the legislature could do it, or the court could do it if the court rules for it. But I'm not sure they have the ability to do that. But even if they did, boards of elections, as I said, not all of them will have primaries in August. So sentencing all of them to actually have this primary in August is problematic, because our polling places know about June, and many counties, and including ours, are going to have some consolidated polling places in August, because some of these places, they didn't know that we were going to have a primary in August, and they may not be available to us. We don't even know who those will be yet. We're starting to contact them now. with anticipation that we will have at least a congressional primary in our area. So that's one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is election inspectors. People go on vacation in August. It's one of the reasons why the Democratic elections commissioners, and in fact the Democrats and Republicans election commissioners back in 2011 came out against an August primary for a June primary, and it took, of course, because it's New York, it took like 8 more years for that to actually happen. It's one of the reasons why we were against August primaries, because it's logistically very hard to hold the elections in August, because inspectors are away, because polling places are closed, because a lot of polling places are not air conditioned. It's going to be hard to do that. So saying everywhere's in the state has to do it is gonna be a problem. It would be a very big problem, a logistical issue. It also, moving the assembly lines, as discussed in the court today in Bath, doesn't just move the assembly lines. There are, lots of things that run based on the assembly line, like party committees and all of these other district leaders, all of these other things that are also having elections in June as well. They would have to move. So it would be a big mess. It would be a bigger mess than what we're planning for right now. So I hope that the judge, as soon as I log off of here, there's an order that is letting us know both about ballot access and that the assembly and statewide primaries are not moving and that they're happening in June. And while that may be counterintuitive, I can tell you that, for many counties, especially the smaller counties that may not have a primary in August, it would be hard for them to hold one in August and moving everything there. So we'll have to see what happens with the judge's orders and with in ballot access, and whether he's moving the assembly primaries. So there's still a lot of unknown. In fact, I may not be doing my Zoom with Zarni this week. I may just have a second commissioner in car on Friday to talk about what we know about New York redistricting, because I think by that point we'll have some ideas. So I may be moving my schedule around a little bit to accommodate that. That being said, we are working hard to get ready for this. Poll site manager classes start this week. I teach and design that class. I'm training the trainers on that over the next week. So we're staying very, very busy here at the Board of Elections. We're going to be very, very busy up until Election Day. So, and absentee ballots for the June election will start going out on Friday, June 13th. Friday the 13th. So, so if you're looking for that, expect ballots in your mail sometime next week. Well, that's going to be it for Commissioner in the Car today. I'm really, I was really hoping to have more answers. I have some answers for you. I really have more, but early voting is set. 8 sites for the primaries, 10 for the general election. Federal court has ruled on redistricting that they can move the congressional lines from June to August, pretty much ending any hope of having elections this year on the new lines that the legislature drawn. So it will be on the new lines that the special master draws. State Senate is still in August. We are yet to hear back from the court whether on ballot access for the state Senate and congressional lines, or whether he's moving the assembly and statewide elections to August as well. And that is what we're waiting to hear about special elections for Delgado and Tom Reed, and how the timing of those are going to play out. And last question, will the Celtics win? You bet they will, buddy. The Celtics, I'm a big Celtic fan. I know I'm a New Yorker, been a New Yorker most of my life, but hey, 1981, I fell in love with Larry Bird, and I've been a Celtic fan ever since. I've been there when Len Bias died. I've been there when Reggie Lewis died. I remember when even our friend Sherman Douglas was on the Celtics team, on one of the worst teams that the Celtics ever had. So I've been a lifelong fan, and hey, you gotta have some diversions in your life. So go Celtics, and let's get some rulings on to shape up these 2 elections that we're going to have in this very, very crazy year. Bye-bye, everyone.